Hello and welcome back to the Campfire. This is a continuation of the Campfire series that I'm hosting within my school community, Entrepreneurs Being Humans, where essentially it's a connection point, it's an open forum and session for people within the community to come together and meet each other, talk about things that are on their minds, and just basically shoot the shit in a campfire like setting. And I've used the campfire analogy because there's no Wi-Fi, there's no phones, there's no meetings or business priorities. It's a place for human beings to just be in nature, be in touch with be in touch with nature and with each other. And if you've been around a campfire, especially out in the woods, you know what this is like. It's about conversations, and there's food shared, and there's drinks, and sometimes there's songs and dancing and all kinds of stuff. It's just a place to just be yourself. And that's the type of forum and vibe I'm trying to create within my community. And while I still have only one member in my community, proudly me, I'm recording the sessions and sharing them in different ways. So I'm starting with different prompts, and today's prompt is about how can religion impact your perception of the world and your revenue stream. And I think I will share that this is generically about religion. I grew up very religious, staunchly. I practiced multiple times a week. I practiced every day and went for prayers multiple times a week. I was heavily involved in the community. So I really learned the values that were taught to me. I really believed what the religion taught me, and I distanced myself from the religion and the teachings in my 20s and early 30s and have kind of recently returned to it. So it's not a commentary about the validity of religion. I just want to have a conversation about how it can impact your perception of your human experience. And that also, of course, involves your revenue stream and your business as an entrepreneur. Looking back, and I'm still trying to frame my conversations and my sharing as speaking to a younger version of myself, and as someone who doesn't have as much experience as I have and as much insight into different things and doesn't have the knowledge that I have right now, acknowledging that it's not that much still, but it's however many years more than it used to be. I was firmly bought into things, and I learned about the hierarchy of values, beliefs, and identity over the last several years, especially in entrepreneurship. It becomes such a human experience. Entrepreneurship does, because it challenges your perceptions, it challenges your beliefs, it challenges who you are as a person to bring your best self to the world. Because essentially what entrepreneurship is betting on yourself to serve others and to be compensated for what you do well, and the quality of what you bring to the marketplace. So, how can the values that you learned and the practices that you put into place not impact that? I don't think they can. But today's video is all about that. So, let me share this. I'm going to share my screen, and let me start with, whoops, let me start with values. I learned all kinds of values, of course, from school, from my religion. And these are things like, respect, integrity, service. And I practiced these things daily, and they were reinforced. I was fortunate to be around other communities like my school, my, junior high, school, where these values were reinforced. And I firmly believed in them. And I so firmly believed in my religion and everything that it taught me. I'm a Muslim, by the way, so I am one of the Abrahamic religions, so Christianity, Judaism, Islam, that share the common belief that there is one God. And I don't see disagreement personally with those other religions. And when I started to look at other religions and the way that people interacted with them, it was clear that there was this hierarchy where your values were what informed your beliefs. And pardon my finger writing on the page, but yes, that's a B. Beliefs. Your values inform your beliefs. And I believed what I did about the world through my religion. I believed in, you could say God. I believed that there was a spiritual entity. I believed that there was something spiritual about me. I believed in spirituality. I learned to believe that there was something non physical about me, about all of us, and something that connected all of us. And I won't go too specific into the religion about beliefs because this is meant to be a general narrative about how religion in general can impact our perception of the world. But looking back to an earlier version of myself, my religion gave me such clarity and certainty about how things worked and how things operated that I really started to believe that my religion knew how the world worked, you know, and it taught me to be thoughtful. My religion teaches me to be thoughtful and to question things and to wonder about the interconnectedness of different things. And so that's what I did. And being an engineer, I love taking things apart and trying to see how they work. And one of the really interesting things that came out of doing that was studying the interplay of spirituality and of my spiritual nature with my physical body, which obviously is my physical surroundings, how I interact with my physical surroundings, and that naturally includes revenue streams and how I would generate income and how I would interact with my income. How did I save money? How did I spend it? Why did I do that? And it turns out it was truly a representation of what I believed about myself. So I would go back to this whiteboard here and I would add, sense of self. And further to that, let's add self worth. And not to say that the religion informed and told me what I should believe about myself, but because there was a breakdown between how the world was supposed to work and how I thought it worked and how it actually worked when I, got into the corporate workplace, the corporate setting, different workplaces, interacted with people in different ways. I started to see dishonesty, and I believed that we were all virtuous, to go back to these values up here. I really valued, I'll add here, teamwork and volunteering so much. I learned to do it unconditionally. I learned that I learned giving and service and doing so to the best of my ability. And I truly believed that we were all in this together. I truly believed that everyone was here to serve other people. So many people did it, to work together, to try to improve all of our lives. That was what the religion was about. It was to give all of us a framework for understanding and existing. And this notion of the physical existence being fleeting and not the entire existence of the being was so central to the religion, because there's teachings about the afterlife and what happens before or after this physical existence on the planet Earth. So it reinforced this concept of almost like a perpetual, I don't want to say everlasting, but it helped me contextualize this life as a human being on the planet, because it's not very long. We're not here for very long. So help other people while you're here. And when I got into the workplace, not everybody believed that, because it really became about monetary compensation. It became about positions in the company. It became about politics. And politics are everywhere, acknowledge that. But there was such an increased focus on individuality that I found in settings where people are paid and things like that, that it rocked me a little bit, because I grew up believing something else. I thought I had the world figured out. I believed in the innate goodness of people and the innate positivity in people. And as you study energy and as you study society, as you look around at bad things and horrible things and horrific things that are still going on in the world, you question why and how is this part of the existence. But I gained an appreciation for the law of polarity, which states that everything has an opposite. You can't have up without down. You can't understand light without dark. So you can't understand good without bad. I think that whatever we refer to as God or as a source energy or universal energy has interwoven these concepts together for us to interpret, right? It's just for us to understand and learn from, that things have to be bad for them to really be good, or for us to understand what good is and to try to bring more of that to the world, because we understand what bad looks like. And that's not a justification of bad and horrific things. I'm trying to present a level of understanding of them and appreciation for why they are there. So, not to go too far down that track, but when you believe so sternly in the beliefs that you have, they naturally inform something else. Well, that's maybe a little too big. They start to inform your identity. And you start to build your identity around a person who has those beliefs. I believe that there is something non physical. I believe in a God or a source. I believe in the notion of spirituality. I am someone who operates as that. And I personally started to build my identity around that goodness. And when the walls kind of came down, when the curtains were drawn back and I started to see the bad, my identity came into question. On a personal note, I also believed so sternly that I had to provide, that I had to serve, that I had to do things to be of service and to have a sense of self worth. And when I got into entrepreneurship, I really struggled because I didn't know what I was doing. And in a lot of ways, I'm still trying to figure it out. But it hit me as again, it rocked my identity because it rocked my beliefs, because I believed that I was valuable. I believed that I did have something to offer the world. I believed that I was worthy of higher levels of income than I was receiving in my corporate position. And so being someone who, you know, provided, my identity was around being a provider. I was a giver. And my identity was built around these notions of service, especially as a man and getting into a marriage and then having a daughter, not being able to provide those things because I was not generating income. I wasn't generating steady income. As an entrepreneur, I was struggling to generate income. I wasn't successfully building businesses, but I thought I was worth it, because I thought all of us were God's creatures and we all deserved it. This is where mindset came into play. And this is where perception comes into play because it impacts your mindset. I was no longer able to provide and I stopped giving. So this is where it got hairy because this is where, I lost my identity. And that's quite impactful in the hierarchy of this system because when you challenge someone's respect or integrity, they may respond with anger. When you challenge someone's beliefs and you tell them like there is no God, you're you challenge them on a deeper level. And when you challenge their identity, you challenge them on an even deeper level. And I was being pushed in this realm of identity. But it taught me something really interesting, which was, why have you built your identity around what you have? Where did that come from? And that's why I started this with religion. And that's how I would say religion can impact your perception of the world. And as I rebuilt these things, I took religion out of the equation for a few years. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but I took religion out of the equation. And I said, who am I? Right? Who am I? Especially according to me. And I didn't have an answer. It was a crazy thing because I hadn't explored that before. And it was a new exploration of what do I want to build my identity around? Especially because I had stripped all of these things away, right? I had stripped away the provider and the giver. I was no longer giving. I was no longer serving. I felt so salty towards the world that I had stopped, volunteering and giving to others. So I found myself really lost for a while. And in a lot of ways, I still find myself lost. So while I would say that these are tremendous things that we can learn from religion, these are tremendously positive things, by the way. Respect, integrity, service. I would never discourage people from adopting these values into their lives, however they come into them. And religion, I think, is just serving as a framework, right? Religion teaches us how our physical interacts with a non-physical. And if I had to really sum this up, that's what I would say. What has religion been to human beings over the years but an explanation for non-physical things, for these crazy coincidences that might happen, or for how we feel interconnected, and how we're all the same, and how it can be unifying and positive. And what are we going to do about that as a community? What is it? What is it about all of us that can bring us together? There's a quote by Rumi that says, "You may be a drop within the ocean, but you are the entire ocean within a drop." And that always fascinated me. And I think you can think about that for days on end. So I won't try to minimize it here, but I think it's tremendously powerful to represent the unity that exists between human beings, how we're all so similar. And how do you explain those things? How do you explain the unity that connects us? I think it's religion. The problem becomes when religion is used as a divider, I believe, I think problems start when religion is weaponized, when it's used to manipulate people, when it's used to manipulate their beliefs and their perceptions of the world. And I think it can be a very dangerous thing, by the way. But when you believe so staunchly in something, it becomes a knowing. You can't believe something and know something at the same time. Let me pop back over here. I'll say this. You can either know something or believe something. And yeah, I heard this on a little internet video one day. You can't know something and believe something. Do you know your parents or do you believe in your parents? Do you know God or do you believe in God? Something has to switch. Something has to become further ingrained for your beliefs to become a knowingness. And I think that's where it, can become a set identity, which is very difficult to question about a person. But you can't know something and believe something. So if your religion has taught you to believe certain things and then you start to know them, it closes your mind to the world in a way, because you only see what you know. And I was starting to do that. I was starting to know that the world was only positive and that people were only good and that we were only here to support each other and be part of a team. And when I started to see how people in particularly corporate settings, political settings, would look out for themselves instead of for the collective, it broke my identity because it was a knowing. And that's the danger that I think I would want to point out to the earlier version of myself. And what I'm trying to essentially accomplish here today is to say, be careful with what you think you know. It closes your mind and it will only serve you and help you to open your mind to what you don't know. It will help you connect with people, to open your mind to what you don't know. It will help you to learn about other societies, other cultures, other businesses, other forms of practice, other ways to build a business, other ways to generate revenue, other ways to attack your problem, other ways to iterate within your business, different strategies for all kinds of different things. And that is how I think it impacts your income stream. Because not only are you learning different strategies and techniques, but you're also opening your mind to how you can be more open. You're opening yourself to how you can allow energy to flow in your life. You're an energetic being. And I don't want to go too far down that track today, but we are made up of so many different systems as human beings, right? We are our physical bodies, we have our hearts and our brains and our guts, and we have our emotional selves regulated through physical chemicals in those bodies. The brain is taught when and how to secrete those chemicals within the body, which are feelings. You're taught how your body is trained and conditioned to feel different ways about different things. Some people will be afraid of spiders a certain way. Some people are afraid of snakes, and maybe that's evolutionary, but some people are comfortable in chaotic settings. Some people are more comfortable in peaceful settings because it's what they've been conditioned to believe about their safety. We have our mental selves, which is a glue that holds all these things together. This is where our perceptions come into play, where we're piecing together our physical bodies and those chemicals and our emotional selves with our mindsets and our subconscious beliefs about the world and how we view things. And under all those layers is this, I believe, infinitely loving, open, and able entity that's a spiritual entity. It's not a physical one. And I wouldn't try to describe it in full, but I learned it through the lens of religion, that I'm a soul and that I'm only here for a little while. And it's about allowing the soul to exist on this planet, and about the body and myself making decisions on behalf of that thing, because that's what I truly am. I'm that thing. I'm the entire ocean, right? How can you be the entire ocean? How can you be everything? How can you be all of the universe's energy? It's because it's that loving, unexplainable, abundant, open thing, right? And I think when that abundant, loving thing is truly allowed to exist, and the more that it's allowed to exist, and the more that that energy is allowed to shine through the layers of conditioning of the human body and the brain and the emotions, the more energy it can channel, can hold, and can flow through it. And in this physical world, the most tangible form of that is money. That's why I think it impacts your revenue stream as an entrepreneur. It's about your ability to channel that. It's about your ability to allow that into your life. So allow it. Don't be so sure that you have it figured out. That's what I would say to a younger version of myself. Is as wonderful as it is that you learned wonderful values of respect and integrity and kindness, don't be so convinced that you know that this is how things work. There's some danger in it. It can close your mind to believing that you know. And if you build your identity around those things, that's how you will live your life. That's how you will interact with everything. And I believe you stand to close yourself off to learning opportunities, to business opportunities, to relationship opportunities, to community connections, all kinds of things. And I think I'll pause on that note. That's how I believe religion can impact your perception of the world and your revenue stream as a business person. Let me know what you think. I'm really curious, other entrepreneurs, if they have had this interaction of religious beliefs, especially firm religious beliefs embedded into them, how they think it might be impacting how they channel energy and allow things to flow in their lives. And if you've ever connected this to your actual revenue stream, let me know. Thanks so much for watching. And be sure to clicky all the links below. And if this resonated, my school community might just be a place that resonates with you as well.